welcome to MA English classes. So today we are dealing with a poem To My Little Girl by Zophia Romanowicz. Coming to the contents of this video, first of all we'll be seeing a few major points about this work, then an introduction to the author. After that we'll be seeing the poem and its summary, and later an analysis of the poem. To the next step, we'll be also seeing its themes and symbols, and by the end of this video, you'll be having a very good idea what this poem is, what's its context, the historical setting, about the author, the themes, the symbols, as well as the major message behind this poem. So, before starting the video, a gentle reminder, if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe and support. And now, about the work. To My Little Girl is a poem written by Zophia Romanowicz. It was written in 1944. It was translated from Polish by Alice Catherine Karls and Daniel Simmons. Now, she wrote this poem while she was imprisoned by the Nazis in a China factory in New Rohlau, and it's written from her experience as a Polish resistance fighter and Holocaust survivor. So it has some autobiographical elements as well. And this poem reflects a mother's love. This mother is making beautiful clay pots for her daughter, but she is also reminding her daughter that even if in any time these break, the child should remember that their lives are more fragile than these fragile goblets. It actually hints at the fragility of human dreams, human existence, and human life as such during the war-torn Holocaust period. Now, that's the central idea behind this poem. Now, coming to the author. Zophia Romanowicz is a Polish novelist, essayist, poet, and translator, and she has published nearly 11 novels and numerous short stories. A few of her works include Baski Barbara, Ravensbrück, Donaufelis, Passage Through the Red Sea, and many such works are there. Coming to the awards, she has received the prize of the Polish Ministry of Culture and National Heritage and also the Kolski-Leski Prize. We can see her picture to the left. Now coming to the poem. This is a very short poem. To my little girl, I'll make a set of dishes for my little girl. I think it'll be lovely. I'll mold goblets, I'll turn plates, I'll paint with wonders, sun, stars, birds. How my little girl will clap her hands. But if her little hand thoughtlessly bumps something and the set shatters, don't cry, my little one. Our lives, too, is fragile. More fragile than these goblets with their painted stars. Do you know, my heart is full of bloody shards. Now, this is a poem, very short poem, that's why I read it. And coming to its summary, straight from the poem itself, we can understand that this is a mother building goblets for her daughter, and she's painting these with beautiful stars, birds, and images of sun. These are all images of survival, happiness, dreams, and existence for that matter. Now she's seeing how happy her child is getting these goblets, but she's again reminded of a time if her child accidentally breaks these goblets and gets sad. She reminds her child that our lives are more fragile than these fragile goblets. That hints actually towards the fragility of human dreams, human life, human existence in the war-torn Holocaust period. So that's the major key idea behind this poem. On a personal level, it reads as a mother's loving gesture, like she's crafting dishes for her daughter, painting them with joyful, life-affirming symbols, and these images represent the innocence, wonder, and the hope a parent holds for their child's happiness. The tone is warm at first, and nurturing as well, and evoking a domestic sense of care and creativity. But on a symbolic level, the dish's fragility becomes a metaphor for human life, because especially in times of war. Because when a speaker is saying that our life is more fragile than these goblets, she introduces a sobering awareness of mortality, because people can die. And this fragility is not abstract. The reference to her heart being full of bloody shards, it conveys the deep personal trauma, or likely shaped by Romanowicz's own experience as a forced laborer in Nazi camps. This author, she was itself a forced laborer, and her experiences can be reflected in this line, full of bloody shards. And there is a juxtaposition of childlike joy with the brutal reality of the destruction in the world. It mirrors a poet's wartime reality, where beauty and innocence existed along with the constant threats of loss of life itself. There was a time when life, existence, and even dreams were fragile. The poem moves from creation to destruction, from hopes to heartbreak, and it reminds the reader of how quickly joy can be shattered, like the child who was happy with that dish suddenly becomes sad when it breaks, and the same way is life. Now coming to a more deeper analysis, this is a compact yet emotionally layered poem that blends the personal tenderness with the harsh reality of wartime existence. The poem then opens with symbols of joy, freedom, innocence, care, etc. Of a mother to her child, and then moves into a reminder of the fragility of wartime. And at the starting, this domestic creative act becomes a metaphor for shaping a better world for the next generation, because a mother is actually wanting a better life, dreams for her daughter. And the midway, the tone shifts sharply from playful to philosophical and sombre, and the warning that the child should not cry if the dishes break introduces central metaphor that the fragility of human life. That's a metaphor in this work. This fragility is actually increasing in the wartime context, which Romanowicz wrote like the first line, "My heart is full of bloody shards." It fuses that emotional pain, the violent image of war, and it's also hinting at the suffering and the loss that are already marked by the speaker. And this juxtaposition of delicate craftwork with the images of destruction of war hint at a coexistence of hope and despair during the war. And at one level, the poem actually reads a mother's affectionate message. On the other, it's a quick acknowledgement that beauty, like life, is transient. It can change anytime, it can break anytime, it can end anytime. Romanowicz here uses very simple language, but it's deeply symbolic, philosophical, and it is conveying the message that life is having that inevitable fate. It can be ended at any time. There are acts of love and creation, but there are also acts of war. The whole poem symbolizes the fragility of human dreams, human existence, and human life with the fragility of a china dish. Now, coming to the major themes, maternal love and care is one theme. The poem centers to the mother's devotion. It's expressed like the act of making something beautiful for her child. So that's an important theme. Then comes the fragility of life. Yes, of course, that's the most important theme, because the breaking of the dishes becomes a metaphor for the fragility of life as well, because life can also be shattered in just a second. Then comes a theme of innocence and joy, because the images of stars, birds, sun, all these evoke that purity and the delight of childhood. And there's also a theme of loss and trauma, because the bloody shards, the word, it hints at the speaker's personal pain or the wartime suffering. Now there is also another theme like art as an expression of hope, because mother is painting, or she's painting into the plates and the goblets she made to symbolize the hope for her daughter, to symbolize happiness for her daughter. Now there is also another theme of shadow of war, because the poem is subtly reflecting on the destruction as well as the uncertainty of life during wartime. The another important theme is acceptance of impermanence, because the speaker is teaching the child not to grieve over what is broken, recognizing the impermanence of that impermanence is a part of life. So these are a few important themes. And now coming to symbols. Now first symbol is dishes or goblets. This symbolizes the beauty or the dreams, the fragility of life also, because these can break and so is life. Now, sun, stars, birds, they are also another symbols. They represent the innocence, the joy, the imagination, the dreams. And the hope. Now, this bloody shards, it's another symbol. It evokes the personal pain, the trauma, or the emotional scars of war. Breaking of set means signifying the losses, the impermanence, the inevitability of life, fragility of life, etc. So these are few important themes, symbols. Now, we discussed many things during this slides. We discussed about the work, about the author, about the historical setting, that was a wartime, and the poem, its summary, its analysis, the themes, the symbols. And if you understood the video, please like and share it to your classmates and friends. And if you have any doubts, do comment. And Kerala University students, which lesson do you want next, because there are only a few days left for the exam, so comment that too. And lastly, do share, subscribe and support. Thank you.